buckle up, y'all, because this is going to be a long video. I'm just going to speak from the heart. So if you don't have the attention span to sit and watch a video and you prefer to scroll, maybe come back to this when you can put it in your headphones while you're driving or you're doing dishes or something like that. I'm Laura Rodriguez. I am a chef with rheumatoid arthritis and a certified autoimmune holistic nutrition specialist, and I've been using food as medicine since 2015. I was struggling with joint pain so bad that I couldn't lift containers of food high enough off the countertops to put them in their cooler bags at work. At the time, I was a executive chef for a nonprofit that delivers free organic healing meals to cancer patients. So I knew this wasn't normal. It was something I had been struggling with for a long time, in addition to other health issues. So I decided to go to the doctor, and that's when I found out I have rheumatoid arthritis. And the doctor was like, here's your medication, there's nothing we can do for you, come back in 6 months and we'll monitor you. Me being me, I knew there had to be a better way. I mean, look at what I was doing for work. So I basically threw the prescription in the trash. I never filled it. And I went home and I did some Googling, and it was like the top anti-inflammatory supplements you can take was turmeric and fish oil. So I bought copious amounts of that, and I took it double the dose 3 times a day, every day. Don't do this, by the way. None of this is medical advice. Please ask your doctor. Okay, that's just what I did. And then I went back to work, and I asked my boss, why don't we serve gluten, dairy, sugar, corn, soy, peanuts at work? And she's like, oh, that's a loaded question. She handed me a big box of books, and they were all about how to reverse cancer naturally through diet changes. And I brought them all home, and I sat right here on this porch in a rocking chair, because my daughter was like just a couple years old, so she was running around. It was summertime, and I read every single book, and I was instantly hooked. I was like, it was fascinating, because as I was reading the books, I could see the descriptions of the people they were talking about, the stories they were talking about, the conditions they were talking about, the symptoms they were detailing. I had a lot of them, so I saw myself in a lot of these books, even though I didn't have cancer. Because the thing that most chronic illnesses have in common is chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is actually something that can cause or lead to the development of autoimmunity, and autoimmunity causes chronic inflammation. So I was chronically inflamed. So I started cooking for myself the same way I was cooking for cancer patients at work. Now, let me backtrack really quick. When I first became the executive chef for this organization, they told me, you can't repeat a recipe in 365 days, and I had to make 7 different recipes every week. Just to give you an idea of how many recipes I wrote in that first year. And naturally, when I first started, I'm like, oh, I can't use gluten, dairy, sugar, all these things. So I started making really simple, healthy meals that were naturally free of all of these things, like salmon with brown rice, broccoli, baked chicken with asparagus and sweet potatoes, soups, things like that. But we got some feedback from the clients over time that they wanted something more comforting, something that they were more familiar with. After all, we are in the South, we're here in Tennessee. So I started cooking meals that, as a chef, because at the time I had already owned a catering company for a number of years, so I started cooking meals that, as a chef, I know most people enjoy, but without all the stuff that we weren't able to use at work. Things like pasta, quinoa pizza bowls, trying to think, lots of casseroles, lots of creamy soups. We would bring in like pureed soups, creamy soups. We even did mac and cheese, things like that. So essentially, by the time I started bringing it back to my family, at this point in my cooking journey there, I was making anti-inflammatory comfort food, which is the same type of food that I specialize in now. Now, the way that I approached my healing journey at first, I took out one ingredient at a time. The first week, I took out sugar. The second week, I took out dairy, so I was dairy and sugar-free. I still wasn't feeling any better. So the third week, I took out gluten. But I didn't know that beer was made from gluten, so I was technically still eating gluten. So once I figured that out, I switched to drinking wine. Now I was gluten, dairy, sugar-free, and that's when my healing really started to take off. So 3 months later, my joint pain, my migraines, and my eczema completely went away. And I continued to eat that way, really rigidly. In fact, like instead of eating rice, I would eat quinoa. Instead of eating noodles, I would eat buckwheat noodles. So the way that I approached it at first was, in my opinion, entirely too strict. But I reopened my catering company. I got more busy in life. I started working on other food projects around Nashville. And eventually, 5 years later, I completely fell off track. I'll talk about that in another video because it's a whole thing, but what I learned in doing that is that number one, food is medicine. Number two, inflammation is closely linked to what you eat. Chronic illnesses can be reversed naturally. Anti-inflammatory supplements work. Eating anti-inflammatory can help you heal your gut. That's why my eczema went away, right? And lastly, you're allowed to approach it any way that you want to, as long as it feels safe for you. For me, because I'm a skeptic, I was like, let me do one ingredient at a time so that I can figure out which ingredient is the culprit, because in my mind, I thought people have been eating bread for centuries and I really did not want to give up gluten, so I took that one out last. And you are absolutely allowed to do that if that feels safest for you, because here's the thing. People with autoimmunity have a history of highly stressful lives, chronic stress, okay? Chronic unmanaged stress, nervous system dysregulation, things like that. And if changing your diet causes you more stress than eating eating inflammatory foods, it's not worth it, right? So you have to do it in a way that feels safe and peaceful to you so that you're not causing yourself stress while you're doing it, because that's going to cause more inflammation than just eating the food. Does that make sense? So next up, I'm going to tell you all about my second rock bottom moment, which was 5 years later when I landed myself in the worst flare of my life and how I got out of it. Stay tuned. If you learned anything, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it.